The Fisher Space Pen. It's the pen that went to the moon. It's the writing instrument of choice for NASA, the Smithsonian Institute, the Cousteau Society, the Congress of the United States, and the U.S. Air Force. Why? Because it writes upside down, in extreme temperatures, even underwater. What makes the Fisher Space Pen so dependable? Inside the sealed cartridge, gas pressure continuously pushes ink to the point. The Fisher Space Pen. Guaranteed for life, it's the only pen you'll ever need.
Boulder City, Nevada, 25 miles southeast of Las Vegas. Its population today is 15,000, which is about the number of workers who descended on the area in 1930. They'd come to build what was then America's largest engineering project, Boulder Dam. It's the headquarters of Paul C. Fisher and the Fisher Space Pen Company. Everybody knows that if you build a better mousetrap, the world will come knocking at your door. But what happens when you build a better pen, as Paul Fisher did? Well, apparently your pen gets a free ride into outer space. Born in 1913, Paul Fisher earned a general science degree from Kansas State University. After the war, Paul saw the writing on the wall, which had been written by that new sensation, the ballpoint pen. In 1948, he invented the bullet pen. Though it would soon be successful and considered a design classic, Paul knew it was far from perfect. Like every other pen in the world, the bullet depended on the force of gravity to help it work. So it couldn't write in certain positions. Meanwhile, its flow control could be annoyingly erratic, or worse. The 1960s space race inspired countless Americans, not just NASA scientists, to reach for the skies, at least with their imaginations. Among them was Paul, who in 1965 created the AG-7 anti-gravity space pen, which 3 years later made its first trip into space on the Apollo 7. Before then, astronauts had to write with pencils, because in zero gravity, ordinary pens didn't work, but Fisher's AG-7 did. The reason is that the AG-7's ink begins as a gel that becomes liquid only when the pen's ultra-hard tungsten carbide ballpoint makes contact and begins rolling across the surface. Gravity is optional. Why? Because inside the pen, behind the gel receptacle, is a small cartridge of compressed nitrogen that acts as a kind of engine to ensure the steady flow of ink. Whether the pen is in space, underwater, upside down, or just doodling. Reliability is what makes the pen popular with soldiers, policemen, firefighters, mountain climbers, scuba divers, and acrobats. July 21st, 1969. Apollo 11 astronauts Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin have landed their module and become the first Earthlings on the moon. And on them were the eyes of the world. But what the world didn't know was that after making their small step for man and a giant leap for mankind, the astronauts discovered a serious equipment malfunction that could have proved fatal. A switch on the landing module's engine had broken. No ignition meant no blast-off. So for a while it looked like the astronauts might be stuck. A nightmare scenario, especially with oxygen running. For weight's sake, the landing capsule had nothing on board to fix the broken switch. But, as the story goes, there was, though, a Fisher AG-7. The astronauts used the pen socket as a tool and were able to manipulate the switch, fire up the engine, and return home.